everybody. Welcome to the Billions After Show, where tonight we are talking wiretaps, unlikely friendships, and domestic issues. You see what I did there? All right, stay tuned.
You're tuned in to AfterBuzz TV, the ESPN of TV talk. Now, let the buzz begin.
Hey everyone, thank you so much for watching and tuning in with us. Welcome to the Billions After Show, where tonight we are reviewing episode 6 of season 4. Can you believe it?
No.
I am your host, Nadine Delapel, and joining me tonight is
Regina Coles, everyone. Happy Easter.
Happy Easter to everyone who celebrates it. Hope you're having a lovely evening wherever you may be, or if you're watching this tomorrow or the next day, that you're having a good afternoon or morning or any time of the day it is that you are checking this out. So, hi. Our third amazing co-host, Keven Undergaro, could not be with us tonight. He's on another Billions assignment, so I'm sure he'll have some fun info for us when he gets back from that. So yeah, wow. Episode 6, crazy. We see our cameo with Lara, which I'm very excited for us to chat about. But first, Regina, give me your initial thoughts.
Initial thoughts was, I was at first a little concerned about Wendy hooking up with Taylor, but now I see Miss Wendy. The therapist hat is just turning. And then, like you said, so that's going to be interesting. And then the other thing, of course, is Lara. I think we have seen the end of Lara.
Yeah. So
perhaps, maybe.
It's kind of crazy, right?
Yeah.
We've been waiting for her to come back, and I'm excited for us to dive into this a little later when we talk about Bobby's whole side of things. But I was happy even just to see her for just a little sliver of time because she is such an amazing character and we love her so much. But I agree with you. This episode with Wendy, I think you and Keven last week predicted this accurately, that Wendy would only be doing this if it was to help Axe. I thought, if people remember or not, I thought it was mainly because Wendy really needed to let go of her emotions and really get it off her chest. So in this initial scene with Wendy and Taylor, I thought that was actually coming true until we see a little bit later on that what you guys predicted was actually right. That was actually to help Axe and to kind of get into the mind of Taylor, which was crazy, right?
Yeah, but maybe at first it was genuine. But then after she found out what Taylor did with Viktor, maybe she said, a light went off again, like, oh, this is the enemy. Let me pull back.
Maybe that was the light bulb.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, this is the enemy. This is anti-Axe, which is not anti-us. So, all right. Well, we will go into Bobby. We'll talk about Bobby a little bit later. But first, I wanted to chat about Chuck and Mr. Connerty and the feud that happened, that ensued this entire episode. I think it's going to be continuing throughout the entire season until something explodes at the end, and which it will, because it's going to be the end of a season, and as we know, Billions does to us. But I think this will be a major part of it, as we're seeing. So let's dive into the wiretap we see at the end actually gets confirmed. But Connerty goes to Judge DiGiulio, who is buddy and pals with Chuck. And DiGiulio obviously says no to the wiretap because he's buddies with Chuck, but also informs Chuck on this. So we see, obviously, that Connerty ends up getting the wiretap approved after going to another judge and having proof that Chuck is in cahoots with a judge. Basically, it's looking like illegal stuff's going on. Do you think that Chuck has any idea that this is coming towards him, that a wiretap on him and his father is happening, or do you think that he's actually completely blindsided by this?
Well, yeah, I think he is. I think he's blindsided by it because when they were in the store talking, and he asked him, he said, do you think Connerly knew what we did? He said, no, of course not. He didn't see this coming.
Yeah.
So I don't think he sees this other judge approving a wiretap coming. And, wow.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't know who you can trust. Even with Kate, she seems to be working with Chuck behind Brian's back, but I'm not sure if maybe that's not the case either. Maybe she's working against Chuck with Brian.
It was an interesting conversation. Yeah, I don't think that she is working with Chuck. I think that the way that she delivered it was more so like, well, here it is. So I think maybe she's being a good actress on it in a way. But going back to the wiretap quickly, I I think that we're seeing more and more of Chuck pulling strings and doing more bribes to keep his position of power, to do what he has to do. I feel like every time he goes forward, he's taking 20 steps back without even realizing that he's taking those steps back. Because whenever he thinks he's ahead, he played this whole game against Connerty, and then it comes back at the end, which he doesn't even know that actually the game's against him, which is interesting to see. And I wonder if with this wiretap, do we think, and maybe this is going into predictions right now, and people, please talk in the chat if you guys are here watching. Let me know what you think. Do we think that Chuck is going to eventually throw his own father under the bus if stuff in the wiretaps come out in order to defend his position as AG?
Well,
I know that's deep right there. I got some deepness for you on Easter.
You do, because he really reveres his father.
Yeah.
And I can't see him throwing his dad under the bus because he wants his dad's approval every step of the way. His father is pretty much the person that pushes him most politically and talks him into doing all this crazy stuff that he does.
The stuff to keep his power, to keep his position,
But he always wants to please his dad. It's something about that relationship where it's just never enough for him to please his dad. And I don't see him throwing his dad under the bus. But, of course, I was kind of shocked that he threw Wendy under the bus.
Yeah, you're right. You're making a good point there. We can never really predict these things. We don't know how it's going to go. I think I asked that question because I think I see that's where it may be going, because we see Chuck doing all these things illegally. I mean, he always kind of did it, but I think more so now, these backdoor deals in convenience stores with judges to kind of just get what he wants and to make a point. So I wonder who's the next person that he's going to throw under that bus. Also, Sagal Getty, hi, welcome to the chat. You said you never saw the show, just watching the live. Well, we appreciate it, and you're maybe a little bit confused about what we're chatting about because there's a lot to talk about in Billions, but I hope you like it enough to go and watch. So thanks for watching. Okay, let's talk about what Chuck's going on with Jock in the Cayman Islands. The Cayman Islands one just gets such a bad rap because in every type of television or film or anything, it's always people are money laundering in the Cayman Islands. And this episode was no different than continuing that bad name rep. They're basically, Chuck is just tracking Jock, his team of people, his group of people. They're just seeing what they can find on Jock to get rid of him, because if they are able to get rid of Jock, then his position as AG is a little bit more sturdy, to say the least. So they find out that it's not really him, but a member of his staff member on Treasury Secretary, Todd Krakow, right? Krakow. Krakow has some shady stuff happening at the banks in the Cayman Islands. Right. And so on purpose, this is what I was wondering, why was Chuck going to take basically the government private plane down there? Obviously people are going to find out. Obviously people like Connerty are going to realize what's happening. So if you're trying to hide it to put a case against Jock, this isn't the way to do it. But the best thing about everything that was happening here, because obviously we see Connerty found out what's been going down, found out that Chuck went on this private plane over there. What is he doing? What's going on? Because everyone has taps on each other. He comes in and tells Kate that, the Chuck's going down to the Cayman Islands. And she said to him that he's becoming a walking cliche focused on territorial bullshit, the same way that Chuck was. What do you make of that, what she said to Connerty? Because I think that it's actually true that his revenge is taking over the same way Chuck's revenge has always taken over. Well,
I think when you saw Kate later on deliver the file and the witness to Chuck pretty much told her, you think that he's pretty much focusing on small stuff and that's making you feel smaller. And so maybe she's got aspirations for her career. And so, she doesn't want to go down with a sinking ship with him running behind things that aren't going to pan out. Because like Chuck said, when I was in this position, I knew how to, follow the trail. But when I had success with what I'm doing. But with him, he's throwing case after case out because he's not having that success. So in a way, it's like, I'm not going down the rabbit hole with you, because I've got aspirations. And when I saw them at the airport greeting Chuck, I noticed after Connery walked off, Brian, for me.
Yeah, Brian to you, Connery for me. Okay, we have different relationships with this man.
So after he turned and walked away, Kate kind of gave the nod to Chuck.
I didn't catch that.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, did someone?
Yeah.
How did I miss that? Did
I
anyone
saw
else catch the
her
nod?
Give him like a wink, wink, you know. And so I think that she is definitely working against him. And she knows.
You think behind the scenes that Kate and Chuck are working together?
Oh, yeah, because
you think that's a crazy prediction right there.
she can get further ahead in her career with Chuck, providing, that things don't blow up in his face.
Yeah, I see. What I think is going on, I think that Kate said that to Connery, said that line that, hey, you're basically acting like Chuck, because he kind of was, until he was able to kind of have proof of like, oh, but what he's doing, we can actually take over and we can actually become in charge of it and all this. And then I think Kate maybe have been on his side now when there was actually something more than just Chuck's traveling to the Cayman Islands. But I think that you're onto something where maybe it will be like her trying to figure out if she's going to stay with Connery on his revenge side or go over to Chuck. I think she is kind of in the middle. I don't think they're working together right now, because I feel like in that last scene together we would have seen that more, right?
Well, but when she came to his office with the folder and the guy from the Cayman Islands, it was almost like he was expecting her. It wasn't like, what are you doing here? And she walked in like, oh, here's the file, and you have a witness in your conference room.
Yeah, I think he had to act like that because even though he didn't want it to happen, he was supposed to be happy if that happened, because that means he won, even though behind the scenes he wasn't winning because he wanted it to stay with them. But yeah, I think you're onto something when it comes to Kate, that there'll be something happening there. So then, yeah, this whole plan the whole time was that Chuck and DiGiulio were kind of making, they're play acting. They were making it seem as if Connery won in order to drive this wedge between, I keep calling him Connery, between Brian Connery, I can just say full name, I guess now, him and Jock, to basically get off of Chuck's back and cause tension between the two guys, and that way, he'll be free to do what he wants. Exactly. And they actually figured it out, because that's the thing is when you mentor someone so well and they get to know you, they get to know your moves, they get to know everything. And Brian was right by Chuck's side all throughout the Bobby stuff with Chuck. So Brian knows how Chuck thinks, how Chuck acts. So we see Jock in the same office with his feet up, the same way when he fired Chuck. So that's why I thought that was going to happen right then to Brian. Right. But then that clicked in his brain like, no, I know what's happening. He's turning this on us. Let's turn it back on him.
But I have to say that Chuck taught Brian well, because Brian, in this episode, was one step ahead of Chuck.
Yeah.
I mean, following him around, getting photographs, and now knowing that, okay, this judge is in cahoots with Chuck, so now I'm going to a judge that I know can't stand him.
Yep.
And what happens?
And brought him proof on top of it. He brought him proof.
Brought him the photos, and the judge signed it off right away. So now, I don't know, but something tells me Chuck is going to be tipped off with that.
Yeah.
That is a wiretap, because he's got too many people in his pocket.
Oh, yeah. It's the whole wiretap issue. It's going to be something. But my earlier thing where I said maybe it's Chuck throwing his father under the bus or something crazy is going to happen when that wiretap actually goes to court. Or something legal happens. That was a lot of crazy stuff happening with Chucky. But I know that you have something you would like to say to our lovely viewers at home.
Well, we just want to tell all of you how much we appreciate your support here at AfterBuzz TV. Nadine and I and the whole staff, we just enjoy what we do, and we do it for you guys. So please continue to support us by going to iTunes and giving us a 5-star rating, or going on to YouTube and subscribing to our channel, of course. And we love to get all your comments. And hey, those thumbs up are even better, guys. So keep watching and keep supporting us. We truly do appreciate it. You guys are the stars.
Yeah, ain't that right, Regina?
Yeah.
Ain't that right? And so with everything that Chuck is dealing with, obviously at work, we're seeing the highs and the lows and the crazy and the wiretaps and Connerty just not leaving him alone. He's also dealing with another situation, this time at home. So I hope you guys liked my pun, if anyone saw the intro.
It was great.
Domestic issues. I don't know. I try to do some dad jokes, guys. Come on, give me credit for it. I like a good dad joke every now and then.
Nadine.
Thank you, Regina. Thank you. But yeah, let's dive into Wendy and Chuck. She's making him sleep in the guest room, which, obviously, we see how she has not gotten over it yet. She's having crazy issues. I mean, she's venting to Taylor in the opening scene about it. So, of course, their marriage is still rocky. It's still, there's still a lot of issues happening there. But Chuck asks her to see a professional dominatrix. And he does what I thought it was just so conniving of him to go in and get pajamas and undress, and so that she could see how he's having some rubber bands on his legs and he pierced his nipple and all of that. It was just a ploy for her to say yes to him. And I think I don't know, I get, if that's what you need and that's what you want, but there's a better way to go about it, in my opinion, than just it basically held her hand and forced her to allow that when she probably didn't really want it. So how do you think Wendy is handling this? Do you think that she's handling it in the right way or the wrong way with her allowing him to get this done?
Well, in my opinion, Wendy doesn't owe Chuck any kindness at this point or consideration. She's being nicer than I thought she would be, or most people probably in that situation. But he's not humbling himself. I have yet to hear him give her a heartfelt apology for the public humiliation he took her through, you know. So I think Wendy...
You're right on that. He hasn't
she's
really.
She's being generous, telling him he can bring this woman, a dominatrix, into their home, and she's taking the kids out while he's at home.
Yeah, well, she understands. She understands it because that's with her profession. She understands where people come from with that. So I can understand her being a little easy on that. But, you know, he obviously has bruises on his eye, and he gets made fun of and ridiculed by Connerty at court about it. And that was her biggest thing, was like, hey, have this woman show up so it looks like you're getting a massage, not that it's someone in dominatrix gear. The woman shows up in dominatrix gear, so he doesn't listen about that. She's like, I don't want people to know anything. He ends it with a black eye. It's just, she's given him so much, and then he's just like, I don't care, I'm still going to do it my way, in a sense. That's what kind of irked me about it more than anything. And then his line where he said, basically, what he did tonight, he cannot and will not live without. So that, I thought, was just like a powerful statement to make of like, hey, this is it. This is what's happening. And
I thought it was selfish.
Exactly. That's what I was going to ask you. What do you think about that? I think it was too. And I think when Wendy came in, we see at the end of the episode, comes into the house and Chuck's sitting there and he wants to talk to her about it. And she's just like, no, and just walks away. I think she has every right to do that right now. Every right. But I do think that everything that she's feeling at home is what's causing her rage at work, which we're starting to see more and more with, right?
Yeah, okay,
with,
so
like,
she's projecting.
I think that's a great word, Regina. I think
that's
she
one
is
of her words.
Projecting. She's projecting a little bit more at work and getting more involved in this whole revenge anti-Taylor thing in her own way. I think because she needs an outlet to let go of her emotions. As she even told Taylor that like she's gonna explode if she doesn't let this stuff out. But I think now she's letting it explode onto Taylor, if that makes sense.
I think so.
Michael Bila, Chuck is losing control. I agree with you completely. I've said this since the beginning of this season, that this is just a completely different Chuck. And it's all going to come crashing down at the end of the season. Aaliyah, you say, I think Chuck really loves Wendy, but they should go see a marriage counselor. Not the same one from last season, a different one. Yeah, I think they definitely should. Possibly once Wendy wants to. I think Wendy's still trying to figure out. I think there's still so much hatred, you know, inside of her. Not hatred, just hatred for the situation of what happened and how everything played out. That I don't think the girl's ready. I think they need to wait a little bit longer, and she actually needs to realize if she wants the marriage or not.
I just think Wendy's tired of it, and I don't see them going back to the way they were. I don't see that at all. I see Chuck has pretty much said that he's not going to change his ways. He loves it. Wendy, on the other hand, has rethought this and feels like, I don't need this anymore in my life.
Yeah.
And now it's gotten to a different type of fever pitch because he brought this woman in, this dominatrix, and she was really brutal. I mean, you know.
But he needed that. That's what he wanted. He craved that.
But the thing is, you're the Attorney General of New York State.
Yeah.
And you're going out in public with black eyes, bruises.
That's what he ran on, though. See, that's the thing, though. I think in his mind, he thinks maybe, hey, it is what I need. It's what I ran on. People know about it. I'm not in the dark anymore. It's just dealing with my wife trying to accept it is probably what's going on in his head.
Not caring about Wendy.
Not caring. And but going into Wendy and Taylor, they had 2 meetings this episode. So we've talked a little bit about that intro meeting at the ice cream shop, which goes all into kind of like hidden meeting places and all of that whole layout. But Taylor says there an important line, I don't think I should talk to you. I don't think I can talk to you. And I don't think I will talk to you. I'm just going to eat this in silence, basically. And Wendy, I gathered from this intro, she plants the seed inside Taylor's head that Taylor's not like any of the other guys that acts Cap, because Taylor actually cares deeply and tries to solve all the problems in their world. And by saying all of this and by saying, well, you don't have to say anything, I'll just sit here and talk. And if there's something that comes to your brain, then say it. I think it's Wendy playing on the good things about Taylor, pumping Taylor up, making Taylor feel, more heightened or welcomed in a sense.
Needed
by
Wendy.
And I'm sure Taylor just hasn't gotten that. We see with the relationship with her father and stuff, hasn't gotten that in their whole life. So I think that's why in that first scene with them, I thought, oh, it is Wendy just being friendly and nice.
Giving her ice
And then I
cream.
thought about it and I was like, oh no, Wendy is manipulating
Of
Taylor
course.
right now, which is crazy.
Yes.
Which is crazy. And then I know we're running out of time quickly. Let's dive quickly into Taylor and Taylor's dad, which was absolutely interesting. You see more and more of their relationship, and you see more and more of what Taylor is willing to kind of put up with this whole new development of this project with their father. But the father says, I always knew I'd make it back. And Taylor says, you are back. And so Taylor's always pumping up the father. But I feel like in a lot of the lines that he has said and a lot of the stuff that he's done, it's more so it's about me. It's about me. I don't care how much money you put into this. I need you to put more and more to help me out. And Keven has predicted this before, but I really, truly believe that their father, will be the downfall later on, as we see.
And I
do you
predicted
think?
that when he appeared in episode 2, that he was going to distract her and get her off of her game. And Wendy is putting together a plan to play on that weakness with Taylor and her father.
Oh, yeah.
And that was part of the conversation. I think when they were looking at the monument of Roosevelt, and they were talking about Louis Kahn, that is where Wendy got that whole idea, I think, started turning in her head about what Taylor was saying about Louis Kahn and his son and how they were estranged and how he really made his father great after his father died and all these mistakes that were made. And I think that that's when Wendy, after she left and walked off, called her office and said,
Want all the files on Taylor.
All the files so she could see
Completely.
That dynamic between Taylor and her dad.
No, completely. I completely agree with you. I think that's when we saw Wendy's true motives. And this time around, Taylor is the one who set up this meeting. So Wendy had said, hey, you can sit here in the earlier meeting. Sit here. You don't have to say anything, but if you want to, you can. And so Taylor set up the second meeting and goes to a specific place that is outlining issues that are happening in their life right now with their father, and wanting basically that advice, but talking about it in a roundabout way. And Wendy is giving advice to Taylor while talking about this architect and his son, which was very interesting. But yeah, you're right. As soon as that phone call happened, that's when that transition in my mind went on. It was like, oh, Regina and Keven were right last week. There is something else going on here, and it's working.
And I wanted to ask you, what do you think about when Taylor said to Wendy that she hoped she was right because she wanted her to be right?
Oh, when Taylor said that that Wendy was right about the situation.
Yeah.
I think it just showed that how vulnerable Taylor was becoming and how vulnerable Taylor is with Wendy right now and really truly sees this as a friendship and nothing that's conniving like Wendy is starting to do and plotting against Taylor, which was crazy. And I wrote down in my notes, Wendy is sneaking and conniving. And I just said that, so I still feel that.
Master manipulator.
Master manipulator. But I also think Taylor's father is that too. When their father basically guilt tripped Taylor and was like, hey, if you don't invest into my company, then you're not believing in me or the product. And it's just like, whoa, dude, like $28 million isn't enough. Like we need a partner. We need more. And so that's why I think something crazy is gonna be happening there. But during all this, Bobby is dealing with yet another scandal, dealing with Viktor.
Yeah.
So Bobby calls Viktor. Oh, actually, let's step back for a second with Bobby because this is such an awesome moment, and I don't want to forget about it. Bobby and Hall, when Hall is spying on Taylor in the beginning of the show, and Bobby's right there with him. Like Hall goes out on all these missions all the time, and Bobby's never around. But for some reason, he's at this one because he cares so much about making sure that this revenge plot goes down and wants to know everything, that he's there. But Hall is just like, hey, like, I don't need someone to watch over me, basically. I don't need a babysitter. Like, you don't need to be here. You're annoying me more than anything, which I thought was hilarious. I thought it was a cool moment between the two of them.
It was.
Because we've never really seen Bobby on site, I guess, during one of these stings. So anyway, I didn't want to forget that, but that was an interesting thing with Bobby and Hall. But going on to Viktor. So Bobby is also dealing with the other scandal of Viktor. So he calls Viktor, as we know, and he says he wants to do business with him in some way. And Viktor's just really cold about it. And is like, yo, dude, not today. And that's not a quote. That's just me. That's just me summarizing. Yo, dude, not today, bro. You can't help me now. But we find out that the SEC is looking into Viktor for insider trading, et cetera, with this company called Mark to Market Analytics because he skewed numbers that they reported. You know, all the shady stuff that we see all these billions guys doing. Viktor is getting caught for doing that. But the crazy thing is that when Taylor took over, Taylor put into the legal documents with Viktor's company that not only is acts helping Viktor in some way, but also whatever happens to Viktor's company, it's directly linked to Axe because he basically owns the company, which is crazy. So was it something that it's looking like it was something that was planned right before Taylor left, because Taylor signed it and Maffei was the second signer on it, and they're the two obviously people that left. So that would make sense, right?
Yeah,
that it would happen right before they left to go start their own company. I don't know, shady stuff, but another thing and another knife into kind of Axe's back of like, oh no, we need to get Taylor back. Like more and more we're realizing how much they screwed us over.
And I think that is part of the reason why you see in the beginning Wendy being nice to Taylor, and then as we get down into the episode towards the end, she is like
Wendy has
bringing all the knives out of the kitchen.
Exactly.
For Taylor.
Yep.
You know.
And we're seeing more so with Wendy too. What I've realized, we're seeing this season more than ever, Wendy's more involved and not caring about mixing business with personal life. I feel as though in the past, like, she really wanted separation, as we saw. Like, she would always keep Chuck and Bobby apart, and obviously because they had issues happening and stuff. But as soon as Bobby heard about this, Bobby looks at Wendy and is like, hey, like, Chuck can't prosecute this. And Wendy's like, well, call him. Wendy wasn't scared to be like, hey, don't call my husband for favors like this because he can get in trouble. She's like, yeah, sure, whatever. Let Chuck help. Chuck deserves to help. And I think it's maybe she doesn't care what happens to him if he gets caught for helping. Is that what you think it is?
I don't think that's it. I just think that she felt like Bobby helped him out. as far as getting elected AG. And right now, Wendy is still, feeling so betrayed about Chuck that, it's like he's not really number one on her radar right now. She's like projecting her anger elsewhere.
Taylor,
So,
wink, wink.
I just think she feels like, he's part of the team now. You boys are getting along, so.
It's just a different side. We're just seeing different sides of our characters this season, which is great. I love the transition in some ways. But it's definitely interesting. But what Chuck asks Bobby when they're on the phone together is a question that I had asked last time was, when will these favors end? So, Regina, when do you think, after watching another episode, when do you think these favors Bobby asking of Chuck is going to end?
When the season is over, maybe. Yeah, it's never going to end. When the series ends, it's never going to end. He's always going to owe him. So he made a pact with the devil.
Yeah, and that's the thing.
It's not like Chuck is innocent. So, he's forever going to be asking him to do this, do that. And he was definitely not happy when Chuck came up to his penthouse to deliver the news that he couldn't help him with Viktor.
Oh, no, exactly.
And that's, of course, it was some great lines from Rebecca.
Oh, yeah. Let's dive into that. Yeah, so Bobby is clearly, he's dealing with a lot. And who does he turn to? He turns to Rebecca during or kind of turns to Rebecca, I should say. Let's chat about that. So, he's decides to be so sweet and is like, hey girl, like let's cook and hang out.
Right.
God, my rendition of what transpired is so not exactly how it is, but it's my version. It's how it goes on in my head, guys, right? So they're gonna cook and have this great night, and you're right. And so Chuck comes up on the elevator and tells him this news, and it's clear on as day on Bobby's face. He doesn't want to cook anymore. He's shook about it, doesn't know what to do, but doesn't want to open up about it. So this is where we see the show's title, which is Maximum Recreational Depth. And Regina, what does that mean?
Well, I didn't even know that it. I've never scuba dived.
Neither have I.
So.
Yeah, I haven't gone scuba diving either.
Basically, it means in order to go deeper in scuba diving, you need to ask for more oxygen.
Yeah.
But in terms of this, Rebecca is telling him that you just don't want to go deeper with me because talking about it like a really important, intense issue for you with a woman is like more important than intimacy or sex.
Yeah.
And of course, we know that when Bobby was married to Lara, they could have those great conversations.
Yeah.
And when she came to visit, well, which he called her in, and she was like, you never have me over here. Not even when we were dating. You never invited me for coffee.
He calls Lara. They have coffee together.
What's
What's up? No, yeah, they have coffee together, and he brings her there because I think he has this realization that he is being held back, that what is the reason? And I'm so happy that Rebecca left that situation in that moment to be like, hey, dude, like either you're going to open up more to me or I'm leaving. I'm walking out because you can't dive deep with someone unless they're willing to do that.
And she told him, you've been married for a long time, and so she knows the intimacy between a husband and wife and the partnership that Bobby had with Lara when she said, talk to me, and he's like, I can't talk to you anymore. And so he pretty much was, I think, cleaning the slate.
He was, and I think he had a great line there where he said that he was letting go of the prison that he made himself. Because we saw last season, he didn't want Lara to go to California with the kids, put up such a fight, was holding money back, and now just needed to be like, hey, go. And I thought it was so great and awesome. Bad because that meant that Lara wasn't gonna probably be coming back a lot, and there was kind of a send-off. I hope she does. We had the news about all that, what was going down with that, so we always wish her luck. But it was a good cleanse for him. And then he storms into her office in true Bobby fashion, just goes past the assistant, doesn't care, and just says like, hey, I want to chat with you with what's going on. And that's his way of showing her that, hey, I'm going to be open and kind of help me. And Rebecca gives the sound advice that Bobby needed this whole time. He needs, he needs that one strong woman in his life that he trusts and respects, and to give him advice. And clearly she does so well for herself. And she's proven time and time again now that she is there for the right intentions for him.
Yeah.
And she gives him the advice to basically buy out the company that could possibly harm you. And then the best thing ever is to now make Viktor work for you, because he's completely abolished the company, or just taken over the company. And now Viktor has to go down those stairs, does the walk, and sits down and has to earn money for Bobby.
So basically take control of the situation. And what better way than to buy out the company
and do that? Yeah,
like he told him, you're going to work like a sharecropper.
You work like a sharecropper. And then when he sits down, Dollar Bill's like, what's our thing? And it's earn. And earn is, I want to get t-shirts for us that just says earn, because I feel like that's one of the biggest slogans of Billions, is just earn, earn, earn.
And that's what it's about.
But yeah, he's able to get over it. And then there's the meeting at the end with Wags, and poor Wags. Oh, we'll chat about Wags. Wags, Bobby, Hall, and Wendy. And Wendy comes into the office and says, hey, I figured out, because she does a little stalking on Mafi, I figured out who is going into business with Taylor and what we can do. So Hall came back, didn't have that stuff, didn't have any of that info. Wendy comes back, has that info, and reassures Bobby that basically, I'm not doing anything with Taylor. And Bobby, you could just see the relief on his face. And Bobby had so much trust, though, because Bobby didn't throw a fit. It was just like, hey, monitor that, Hall. But then when Bobby was able to realize, hey, Wendy is on my side.
That's what Keven and I said last week.
You guys did. I was just thinking more friendship and love and happiness.
No.
But quickly, let's chat about Wags and because I feel like this is going to be more of a storyline later of revenge.
Yeah.
Revenge is one of the main
already
themes.
Said.
So Kappa Beta Phi, we see that he gets this fake initiation letter. He dresses up as a woman. He goes there. He gets humiliated at this fraternity that Bloomberg was a part of, that his father was a part of, that so many big Wall Street guys were a part of. Was so excited. Ari, when he saw the invite, wanted to touch it, and smacked him away. So he comes just so sad into Bobby's office after with a bottle of whiskey and devastated. I think that he's going to talk to Bobby eventually about what happened with that, and I think Bobby will have his back and fix it in some major way. I don't think Wags will go down like that. Wags will come back with an absolute fight. And wow, that was the episode, Regina. What'd you think?
It's always exciting.
Each exciting.
Episode, they just up. We don't know what to expect.
It was crazy.
Who's after who. It was great.
Well, let's get into quickly some news.
Well,
TV.
Woohoo! So recently, Maggie Seth, who plays Wendy, of course, was interviewed about the split between her and Chuck, and they asked her what was more upsetting to her character, Wendy, in her opinion. Was it he throwing their sex life in front of the media, or the fact that their agreement to not go public with that information Chuck broke?
Oh, what'd she say?
She said the violation of their bond is primary, although she's an extraordinarily private person. There's so many violations in that, and that basically she feels that he betrayed not only her as a wife, but her as a dominatrix.
Oh,
and
Wendy.
being in control of the role playing.
So maybe that's why Wendy's hurt a little bit more too.
Yes.
As if they were deep into that. Oh, wow.
And that it was totally humiliating because, it delved into her personal life, but now it's put another face on her professional life.
Yeah. Yeah, so, no bueno. And we're seeing Wendy even more. But that's great to get that perspective from the actual actress.
Yes.
And so that's news. Thank you very much for bringing that. Our special segment, the Millennial Translator, will be done next week when Mr. Keven Undergaro is back with us from assignment. So I think it's time to just get into some quick predictions.
Your AfterBuzz TV prediction.
Miss Regina, you can go first. What are you predicting?
What am I predicting? Well, I'm predicting that Wendy does not stop at Taylor, what we saw today.
Yeah.
She is going to put the nail in the coffin. But I'm also thinking, too, that she might feel sorry for Taylor. And she might tip her off to, like, you know.
Think Wendy's going to flip.
He's not flip, but have some compassion for Taylor and saying, you know, you started this war, so you better up your game if you want to even think about surviving it.
Yeah, something deep's gonna happen there. Yeah, I think Wendy's still gonna go hard and crazy to the paint on this. I feel like Wendy is deflecting all of her emotions onto the Taylor situation. I think Chuck is in some serious trouble, some serious issues. But just like Grigor and Bobby was able to rid himself of Grigor, I think Chuck, towards the end of this, will be able to rid himself of Jock. Possibly. Somehow. I don't know how. Let us know what you guys think, please, throughout the week. Leave us a comment. Hit that like button if you guys liked and enjoyed this after show tonight. Thank you guys so much for being in the chat. To Michael Bila and to Aaliyah. Michael, you also said, in the world of capitalism, emotions will destroy all mortality and intuition. Wow, what an amazing quote to leave us with tonight. Thank you very much, Michael. Regina, where can they find you?
At Instagram, Regina Coles.
And you guys can find me everywhere at Nadine Dalapal. Thank you guys so much again, and we will see you next week for episode 7. Bye.
Our founder, Keven Undergaro, and me, Maria Menounos, would like to thank you for tuning in to AfterBuzz TV. Remember, we're not just the first, we're the biggest in the world, and we're the only destination for all your favorite TV shows. Whatever you crave, we've got it. So go to AfterBuzzTV.com and check out our lineup. Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.